Joining us, we have Barataria Sanwar MP and UNC Shadow Minister of Legal Affairs, Mr. Saddam Hosein. A pleasant good evening, Mr. Hazan.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, listeners.
Thank you. There has been many folks weighing in on what has taken place where Finance Minister Imbut is basically reporting of the 3-month order exemption out of the procurement law of goods and services associated with the just concluded CARICOM summit. Of course, that leaves us in the dark once again, and this is something that I know you have been outspoken about as far as why is it that we can't get these prices, how much the cost was to taxpayers and what have you. Just how dangerous is this, and what sort of trend are we looking at here?
Sure. So, if you would remember, in 2015, the then People's Partnership Government would have passed something called the Procurement and Disposal of Public Property Act. And that piece of law was Act 1 of 2015, which would have created an environment to foster more accountability, transparency, value for money when it comes to awarding contracts for persons to provide and supply goods and services to the government or the state. And the PNM would have dragged their feet on this piece of law for 8 years after many, many calls for the full proclamation of this particular piece of law. And you would remember in 2020, they tried to water down the legislation by exempting certain services from procurement. So therefore, what that means is that nobody needs to bid anymore. They need to have no tenders. They will just say, okay, I'm giving you the contract. You can be for how much money? That's no problem. We're going to give the contract to you. That is the effect of this entire thing. So they had exempted legal services, financial services, medical services, and then there's this catch-all where the minister can, by an order, say he's going to exempt any other service from procurement. So therefore, they can handpick who they like. It could be a friend, it could be a financier, it could be even a family member, as I said, for any item or for any amount of money. There's no cap. And the minister, if he is going to make an order for that, he has to come to the parliament to get the approval of the parliament, both the House and the Senate. And the strange thing is that Minister Imbut was the person to pilot this amendment. It was his law. He has indicated to the parliament that if he is going to exempt any other services, he will have to come back to the parliament to get its approval. He can't just do it by a signature. Fast forward to 2023, on the eve of the CARICOM summit, we see an order being published by Minister Imbut exempting all goods and services in relation to the visits of foreign heads of government for the CARICOM meeting and the 50th anniversary of CARICOM.
Right.
And when you look at that order, it's for a period of 3 months. That meeting lasted all of 5 days. Why Minister Imbut extended the order for 3 months? The second point is that the order is illegal because Minister Imbut never came to the parliament to get the parliament's approval to make that exemption. And the law that he passed, which he gave the assurance to the parliament and the senators and the elected members, is that if he exempts any other service, he will come back to the parliament. But he didn't. He just by the signature went off and exempted all procurement for that CARICOM meeting.
And that's where it gets rather tricky there, Mr. Hosein, because I mean, again, we've talked on several occasions about this political hand that has been compromising the integrity of many of these offices that are supposed to be independent. But now this is so brazen to the fact that the question has to be asked: what was the total value of this CARICOM celebration / summit, whatever it is? How much did it cost us as taxpayers? And why is this some sort of a secret that the government simply does not want to give us clarity on?
So today, Minister Imbut shortly had a press conference with a feeble response to these matters that I raised. And he has not rejected or he has not challenged that the order is illegal. he is blaming the Attorney General and he is blaming the cabinet. He said all of them would have been involved. So he threw everybody under the bus. Now, when it comes to the value, Minister Embed gave a value that he said the cost of that event was somewhere in the vicinity of $10 million. $10 million. So can you imagine $10 million of taxpayers' money was spent without any form of procurement? None whatsoever. But I don't believe Minister Embed, and I'll tell you why I don't believe Minister Embed. Because I always check my facts. I love to check my facts. If I take you back to May 2023, May this year, we had the mid-year review. In the mid-year review, the Parliament allocated and approved $20 million. $20 million for the hosting of the summit and the anniversary celebration. It's in black and white. That is the allocation. Whether they used up all of the allocation, we are yet to see, because they're being very shady and they're being very dodgy with respect to this issue. Had it not been for the opposition, Trinidad and Tobago would have been left in the dark with respect to the procurement of goods and services. But what we have to also remember is that they have now exempted this entire thing for 3 months. What happens in this 3 months? We are in the height of a local government election campaign where their backs are against the wall because they're very weak. And there's an election coming up on the 14th of August. We are yet to see how we would want answers whether or not persons who provide goods and services to the PNM are the same persons who have been procured to provide goods and services for these CARICOM meetings. Those are the questions that we have and we must get answers to. I have called on Minister Embed to provide a complete breakdown of every single contractor, supplier that has been paid and for what they have been paid for the CARICOM Summit, because we want to know whether or not they are the same persons that will be providing services to the PNM for this campaign period.
Yeah, but even back in April, the Attorney General, Reginald Amor, announced that the full proclamation of all remaining sections of this Public Procurement and Disposal of Property, Public Property Act 2023. He said that there will be full proclamation of all of this. And of course, that was backed up by the Prime Minister, who assured the law will be operationalized for the benefit of citizens. This cannot be in our benefit if we are left in the dark.
And you know what they did? They fully proclaimed the entire law in April, and they came in May and exempted all procurement from the law. That is the hypocrisy of this government. We cannot believe them, you know. We cannot believe them, and you can't trust them. You cannot trust this government. But it even gets more strange.
Tell us.
Because when I did some additional research, I came up with another exemption order. This one was with respect to the judiciary. Again, it did not get the Parliament's approval. So the judiciary is allowed to, the judiciary is exempted from the Procurement Act for 3 months to provide goods and services towards the judiciary. Minister Embed is saying it is in relation to a jury trial. Well, that is absolutely false. It's erroneous, in fact, because when you look at the wording of the order, let me put it in this way for you. A High Court jury trial only applies to a High Court. It applies to the Criminal Division, one High Court judge, and a jury. When you read the order applies to Magistrates Court, High Court, Court of Appeal, Judge, Magistrate, Registrar, everybody. It even applies to things like securing consultants, medical consultants, financial consultants for the judiciary. It also applies to ads, media. It applies to things like procuring judicial educators. There's a judicial ongoing educational exercise. And Minister Embed didn't talk about these things. So now that particular order that exempts the judiciary from the Procurement Act is also illegal because it did not get the approval of the Parliament. And the judiciary, I'm calling on the judiciary to act with the utmost transparency and accountability, because we have seen recently what happened in the judiciary with one High Court judge had to recuse herself because of close relations with an attorney at law, senior counsel affiliated with the PNM and a golfing partner of the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
We have seen what happened in the Court of Appeal where an entire panel was infected with bias because a sitting appeal court judge brother was appointed on a state company, a state enterprise that sued a sitting member of parliament on the opposition, and that entire appeal had collapsed, and now a new panel has to be assembled to hear the matter afresh.
No. When you look at this, Mr. Hosein, I mean, this is startling, and I want people to understand. Is it that this legislation was flawed to begin with? Because here it is, you're saying it's fully proclaimed, but you know what? We're having this summit, we're having this big event, so everything else outside of that, we don't want to highlight. I mean, so basically you're saying, let's take, for example, if I was the caterer and my bill was 30, would it be unknown now to the stakeholders, the people of this country, that I could balloon my invoice for 65,000 and simply get away with it?
That is precisely it, because once the exemption order takes effect, you don't have to bid, you don't have to procure, you don't have to go and look for the best value for money. You can simply hand select any one of your choice. This is at your pleasure in terms of who do you want to select as a contractor. Now, let me put this on the record. The procurement legislation that we passed in 2015 was a very good piece of law because it encourages, as I said, transparency. It had robust provisions to encourage other smaller businesses to have the even playing field, to ensure that Trinidad and Tobago is getting value for money, cutting out the middleman, all of those things. And what Minister Imbrid came in 2020 and did was water down that. And then when they watered it down, they now fully proclaimed it in April. And if that is not enough, they now are exempting goods and services and certain areas from that particular procurement legislation.
So basically what you're saying is that the legislation is all good and well, but it seems as though government just keeps shifting the goalposts, because you hear people weighing in saying that the opposition doesn't support this entire thing as far as it comes to...
Law. Yeah. This was our law that they watered out. They interfered with the law that we passed. They watered it out. And that is why they can now try to skip. That's the best way I can find. To skip out of the procurement law, because they don't want to be subject to scrutiny. They don't want to ensure that there's accountability and transparency. They want to sit down and handpick contractors. They want to sit down and handpick their, it could be friends or families, financiers, we don't know. And look at these expenditures. It's not a small amount of money. Minister Imbrid is saying that it costs $10 million, but they have a window of $20 million, up to $20 million to spend on this event.
Right. So basically, for those who weigh in, and Tommy Mohammed, you're correct. So the procurement legislation was gutted by the PNM. When you hear people talk about the fact that the opposition doesn't support it, it was the opposition that brought the legislation to begin with. Now how dangerous is this? Because, I mean, it means that every Monday morning they can shift the goalposts when, in fact, it benefits them and their finances. We as citizens, who do we lean on at this point in time to say, listen, I want to know how my money is being spent. You simply can't come up with this no matter what happens, what summit, what conference, and say, listen, I am not entitled to know where my money is going.
It is our view that this is a travesty of justice. It is also an undermining of the entire procurement regime in Trinidad and Tobago. In fact, they have now disrespected the procurement regulator, who is the person who regulates all of the procurement in Trinidad and Tobago. But we have seen this as an injustice, and Senior Counsel Anand Ramlogan, Sirius client, Mr. Ravi Balgir bin Miraj, has issued a pre-action protocol letter against the Minister of Finance with respect to this illegal exemption order for procurement at the CARICOM Heads of Government meeting and the anniversary celebration. And I just want to put it on the record that the UNC is not against the hosting of any foreign dignitaries or heads of state. That all goes well for our country. But if we are going to host these persons, the goods and services that we expend must be done in accordance with our laws. It must be in conformity with our procurement practices. It's not simply that you could go and hand pick your preferred contractors.
Yeah. And again, the time period is what one has to look at as well. I mean, the duration of 3 months while in the middle of a local government election. Speaking about that, before we wrap up, how are things in your area as far as with the councillors and what have you? What's the feedback like?
Oh, fantastic. I am in the South Lavender Regional Corporation. We are very hopeful. That is one of the corporations where we have an accommodation with the NTA, the National Transformation Alliance. Yesterday we had a very good, it was actually a massive walk in the electoral district of Barrett with our candidate, Mr. Imran Khan. Joining us was former Commissioner of Police, Gary Griffith, and the response was phenomenal. There's one common thread that runs through all of Trinidad and Tobago, that people are fed up with the PNM. Fed up. I think now is the time for change. I urge all who are listening to us on the airwaves to please open your eyes and see what the PNM has done to our sweet Trinidad and Tobago. It is now that we have an opportunity to send a strong, clear message on August 14th to vote out the PNM out of office for the future and the benefit of our sweet TNT.
Thank you so much again. It's been a pleasure to have you on. As always, best of luck to you and your team. I will be checking in with you periodically. Thank you so much.
Have a good evening.
Same to you.